Which way? That way. Winning, always. Keep with the building. Winning, always. Winning, always. I know, yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Motive. My name is Colin Young, your host. I'm here at Honor Roll Studios in Dallas today. We got an exciting topic to talk about, one that hits home with me, being a coach and a former professional baseball player. It's about a parent's role and parents' involvement with their children in their upbringing in sports. There's a lot of trends that I see today that bother me, quite disturbing as far as what we see with parents' involvement and their being a little overbearing as far as how they want their kid to evolve and to progress in sports. And I think what we need to do is take a step back a minute and realize that a lot of what we do as parents, we all want to make it so that we give our kids every opportunity to succeed, right? That's what we're looking for. But at the end of the day, our children are individuals. They have their own hopes and dreams. They have their own wants and desires. And we need to remove ourselves a little bit from what they're going through in their daily life. We can support them. We can love them. We can give them opportunities to succeed. But there's a point where we really need to pull back and let them be themselves. Now, I say this, and let me premise about what we're going to talk about. I say this as a parent of 3 kids, 12, 10, and 8 years old, all involved in sports, multiple sports actually. My daughter, she's in gymnastics, volleyball, basketball. My 2 sons, they're involved in baseball, volleyball. They like to play some golf. But at the end of the day, what it is, are they having fun with what they're doing? Are they invested themselves into getting better and progressing with their talents? Or are they just out there, mom and dad are making them be out there? Look in their eyes. Are they having fun? Do they respond to the coaching and the sport that they're playing? Are we identifying if that is something they're actually wanting to do? This might involve a deep conversation with your kids. Say, hey, little Johnny, I know we're playing baseball right now, but I can't make you like it. So what is it that you want to do? And maybe that's how we should look at a lot of this. Maybe we should treat these kids more as individuals, give them opportunities, give them a taste of what it's like to play baseball. If they don't like it, that's okay. If they don't like to play basketball, that's okay. Find out what it is they like and nurture that. I have a hard time with the coaching aspect of it right now, talking to parents and talking to players about what's their passion, what it is that they're trying to get out of the team, the lesson that we're doing, the instruction that they're getting. Is this something that is viable for them moving forward? Because if they don't love what they're doing, then maybe we should find something else. But it all comes back to, are we putting our kids in a position where they're doing something that they don't want to do? Are we doing our kids a disservice by pressuring them in the sport they're playing? Are there other things outside of sports that we should be nurturing? So I look at a whole big picture of this and just wonder if we're doing this right, we're doing this wrong. I'm going to talk about today what I think are some really deep-rooted issues with pressuring your kids in sports, and being that there's a term called helicopter parent out there, or the dad coaching from the stands kind of guy, the parent that's always yelling from the crowd or the stands. Let's take a look at these people and see what the deep-rooted issue is, and to see if we can, try and solve that. I know it's something that's generationally is going to continue, because that's just how we are as humans. But let's try to take a look at this and see if there's something we can do to remove ourselves as adults and what we want for our children, and really ask ourselves, what is it that the child wants, and what is it that we can do to support them in a positive and uplifting manner. So to begin, this whole conversation, one of the things and I'm going to stick to a sports theme because that's what I know. I could talk about piano, but I don't know anything about music or piano. I'll stick with sports. That's what I know. The first thing I see is getting back to the whole we love our children are the greatest aspect is parents actually overvalue the actual talent of their child. And that may seem like it's a little harsh to say, but we take a look at our kids, we look them in the eyes, and we see these kids with a future ahead of them, and we want the best for them. But especially in the sports realm, we actually are probably overvaluing how good they are. When we look at the progression of kids from youth baseball to high school to college to professional baseball, it's a minuscule amount of people that actually make it. All right, and the trend is that there's a huge drop-off after the age of 12. There's a huge drop-off after the age of 14. And after the age of 18, another huge drop-off. So we look at these pools of players, say we take an age group of 12. We look at a group of players like that. And we want to say, all right, within this group of 12-year-old players, how many of these kids are going to play high school? And you could probably look at one team, within an association, say in your local town, and say maybe 2 kids on that team are going to be on the high school team. But all the parents of the children on that team probably think that all their kids are going to be on the high school team. It just doesn't work that way. So there's an overvalue of actually how good or talented your young player is. And that's okay, but we have to stand in reality as to what this really means. There's a thing where at 12 years old, there's a lot of kids that are physically more mature. Some kids are good at that age. Some kids are not so good. Some are smaller, some are bigger, some are stronger, some are faster. But there's always that one kid that bypasses all the kids that are good at that age. I've seen it time and time again. So when we look at 12-year-olds and their cohorts, it's really tough to imagine that the good players at that age are going to be the ones that actually go on to play high school, college, professional baseball. So what is it that gets them better? I like to tell a story about when I was 11 or 12. That was about the age where I started to come into my own as a baseball player. My parents were a very supportive type of parents. They gave me every opportunity to do the things that I loved. And at that time it was baseball. I ate, slept, and drank baseball. I was the kid that got up every morning, went to the breakfast table, grabbed the newspaper, looked at the box score of the Red Sox game, and wrote down the stats by hand every morning to keep track of the stats. I slept with my baseball glove, slept with my baseball bat, got up every morning, went outside, and tried to hit a baseball, just throwing it up in the air to myself. So my parents at that age saw in me that this was something that I loved to do, I liked to do. But growing up in a small town in Massachusetts, I don't know how good I was. I don't know, compared to everyone else in the country, I had no concept of that. My parents had no concept of that. All they knew is that they saw their kid out there playing a game that he loved and something he loved to do. And it made him happy. Not once did I ever hear from the stands a negative comment from my mother or father. Not once did I ever get reprimanded for playing the game that I loved to play. Whether I lost, went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, or walked the bases loaded, whatever it was, once the game was over and I got in that car, my parents always looked at me and said, "It was great seeing you play today. I love watching you play." Or, "Hey, good job. You'll get them next time." I never heard, "I can't believe you did this. Why did you make those errors? Why can't you throw strikes? How can you strike out with the bases loaded looking?" Not once did I ever hear that from my parents. And what it taught me is that baseball is a game of failure, but there's another day. There's always another day in baseball. There's always another game to play. There's always another at bat. There's always another time you're going to pitch. And what I learned from that and that positive support every day is that I needed to work to get better. I could change everything that happened in one moment in the next game. I went 0 for 4 one day. I could come back and go 2 for 3 with 2 home runs the next day. And that's what I learned about it. But I don't think If I didn't have that positive support behind me, I don't think I would have continued with the game, because baseball is a game of failure. Baseball is a game of errors. But it's how you overcome those errors. It's how you overcome those failures with coaches and parents' positive support behind you, and is how you progress and learn to love the game. So when I talk about a parent overvaluing the talent of their kid, it's very real. You have to sit back and remove yourself as a parent and just let the kid play. Failures are going to happen. Errors are going to be made. Johnny isn't as good as you think, but he can be with the right environment and the right support. Another thing too is during the game or during play, parents have a hard time separating their emotions during the game from that of what's going on the field. So we see that, baseball's a game of, like I said, a game of failure, a game of errors, a game of anxiety. I look around as a coach and I see parents on the sidelines pacing, stressed out, swearing under their breath when their kid strikes out, wanting to rip their hair out when their kid makes an error. So why is that? What are we doing? Why are you so frustrated at a 12, 13-year-old making an error or striking out that you cannot control your emotions? Why is it so stressful for you as a parent? I'd like to hear it. And I know sometimes, and like I said, I have 3 children that play sports. But I think playing the game for as long as I've played and playing to the levels I've played to is that I understand the process a little bit better. You need to relax. You need to keep emotions in check in the game of baseball, in all sports really. And sometimes I know parents want the best for the kid, but we really need to separate our emotions from what's going on the field. Listen, your kid is under enough stress already. They don't need any more pressure from you. They are out there trying to compete. They are out there trying to do the best they can. They're out there trying not to strike out. Of course, they don't want to strike out because they know they're going to hear it from you. They don't want to boot the ball. They don't want to make an error because they know when they get in the car, daddy's going to ream them a new one. For what reason, I have no clue. So what we really need to do as adults and parents is to be a little bit emotionally more mature about how we go about our actions during an event, during a game, during practice, and during their amateur careers in general. You are not them. They are individuals. Remove yourself and your emotions and separate yourself from that, because you're just adding more stress and more anxiety to what they're trying to accomplish. And if you can do that, I guarantee if you take a step back and let them breathe and let them progress in an environment that's way more supportive and less stressful, the results will be astounding. They really will. They'll be astounding. You'll see smiles on kids' faces. No more tears after a strikeout. No more heads down walking back to the dugout after they make an error. Because at the end of the day, baseball is fun. Sports are fun. We're putting undue pressure on these kids that already put enough pressure on themselves. And I deal with it all the time as a coach. I've been coach ever since I left professional baseball. I've been doing lessons, been doing private coaching, been doing coaching with teams. And we try to do the best we can with my coach and myself to let the parents know that we got this. We're the ones out there supporting the kids. You guys enjoy, just watch your children play and put a smile on your face. Cheer them on when they get up to bat. Cheer them on when they're on the mound. What we don't need is any negativity, any negative comments from the gallery. Every moment in baseball is a teaching moment when someone fails. And what we don't need is yelling and screaming and berating a kid because they made an error. They forgot their cutoff man. They forgot the bunt play. Whatever it might be, every moment's a teaching moment. That's the actions we need to take as coaches and parents. Life is full of teaching moments. If we continuously berate them about their failures, where are they going to find that positivity to carry on, to continue? I've seen so many kids just leave the game because they hate it, or they leave sports because they hate it, because their parents have made them hate it. and it's really upsetting to me. My goal as a coach and everything that I do with baseball and sports is when that kid is done with the game that day, win, lose, fail, succeed, is to have a smile on their face and ask them, did you have fun today? Did you get a little better today? Did you learn something today? And if they did, I did my job, parents did their job, and little Johnny did his job. So with that added stress that sometimes parents and even coaches add, we talk about, well, how does our kid get to the next level? They have to have a passion for what they're doing, a love for what they're doing, an excitement for what they're doing. So we can't ruin that as parents. We can't sit there and squash hopes and dreams due to negativity. I always go back to my experience as a player. Maybe it was utopian, maybe, I don't know. But I just know that I never heard negativity about anything that I did in the game of baseball from my parents. Sometimes my actions were disciplined by coaches, which is, all fair and how it should be done. But my parents let the coaches coach. But what my parents did do is everything was incentive-based, reward-based for me. Hit a home run, get a lobster dinner. Strike out the side, oh, I get buffalo wings tonight. Awesome. Things like that made me, wow, if I can get a lobster dinner if I hit another home run. All right, well, how do I hit home runs? All right, well, I need to go practice, hone my craft. And what this incentive and reward-based parenting did for me in the game of baseball, without me really knowing, was made me work more, made me practice more. I was outside every day throwing the ball against the wall, throwing it up in the air, hitting rocks into the pond, or just doing something. My group of friends and I, we grew up in a small town, Massachusetts, and we'd always come together to the playground, play wiffle ball, play pickup baseball, always doing something to get better because we had that environment of support and positivity. It wasn't just my parents in that town. Like I said, it may seem utopian, but it was amazing. The group of parents that we had were so supportive of what we did, and we had a group of kids that ended up really being, pretty successful in the game of baseball, and it nurtured it into a state championship in Massachusetts. So in high school. That being said, the parents didn't ruin our passion for it. It was a very supportive environment in that time, and our passion just grew and grew and grew. And to this day, our group of friends, we talk about baseball stats. A couple of my buddies are real stat nuts. They can't play anymore, but they stay involved in the game somehow. So we've developed this passion over time because of positive support, and we just love the game of baseball. And I see that taken away a lot. We have the travel ball programs, the select programs now. Many of them very good, but I think we've come to a point where there's a lot of baseball being played at such a young age. We've almost made it into a business. And some of these programs out there aren't there for development. They cherry pick players from different places. Parents quit teams to move their kid onto another team because they think they're getting railroaded or something. Or they don't want their kid to ride the bench and have them work for a spot on the team. A lot of these elements go into hindering progress and passion for the game. Baseball was something I anticipated every spring. Being from the Northeast, we had a short window for a baseball season, about April to August. And then after that, it was football, cold weather, snow, indoor sports. So always anticipated the next season coming around because we just loved the game so much. But a lot of places now we play year-round. It's become somewhat of a business or a job for kids at a young age. That I think we burn them out. We burn them out with the stress we put on them. We burn them out with the amount of games that they play. There's a lot of things that we can do for them to take a step back and just keep honing that passion for the game, and that's how they progress. Kids are starting to quit the game. I see kids, good ball players, good athletes move on to other sports. They're quitting earlier now. They've played enough baseball, played too much baseball, and it's not just baseball. It's volleyball, the select volleyball, the select soccer. Kids get tired. Kids get burnt out because I think at the end of the day, as parents, we got to get that scholarship. Well, we got to make that high school team. We spend thousands of dollars on this, and well, damn it, they need to make this team, or they need to be better. And we throw all this money there, on these places and these kids, and it ends up in most times having a negative effect So I think we need to, reevaluate a little bit on what we're looking at from the parent side, from the structure of the travel select sports side. See if there's some type of happy medium. Another thing with parents too, we talk about the pressure you put on your kids, the pressure that, parents coaching from the stands. It's funny because you talk to a lot of these parents, some of them didn't play in high school, some of them didn't even play baseball at all, but yet they're the ones getting on their kids for making errors, striking out. I'd like to take Mr. Jones, 45-year-old Mr. Jones, put him on the field in that same situation and see how he would perform, and then have the kids sit in the stands and then berate his father for making an error or striking out. Sometimes these parents act like they were all state. They had 0 ERAs and hit 1,000 in high school. All of them sound like they were Joe DiMaggio in the flesh back in the day, but that's not how it really was. So parents, just remember, you weren't that good. So you really have no say coaching from the stands and berating your kid and putting more pressure on them. Just sit there, have a drink, non-alcoholic, of course, relax, put a smile on your face, and just say, go, Johnny. Another little side note on that is let's leave our kid alone during competition. Let's not constantly come over to the dugout or the sideline, tell them to get their elbow up, or say, hey, do this to the next batter, throw these pitches here. Keep coming to bring snacks in the dugout, whatever it might be. Just leave your kid alone. Let him enjoy the time with his teammates, with his coaches during the game. There's a lot of unnecessary involvement with parents during competition that we need to remove. It's just added stress, just added pressure. It's no need. Any comments you have, save it for after the game. And if it's not constructive, keep it to yourself. Your insights on their play are usually driven by emotion and passion and come off as confrontational. Like I said before, they have enough pressure. They don't need any more from you. All right, so just leave them alone. Let the coaches coach. You might not agree with every decision they make, and they might be terrible coaches as well. But like I said before, everything is a teaching moment. Everything is a learning environment. You're going to have bad bosses later in life. You're going to have bad coaches now. You're going to have situations where you need to make decisions, and you're going to fail. How do you respond from these decisions of failure, these actions of failure? The biggest problem that I have with is a lot of parents pulling their kids from teams because of a coach. And if it's egregious, I understand, right? But you're teaching your kid to quit. I don't like quitters. I don't like teaching kids to quit if something's uncomfortable or if a situation is not in their favor, because that just makes quitting easier in life. Always looking for someone to pull them out of a tough situation rather than taking it upon their own accord to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, to change their situation as to what they're doing and maybe cracking the lineup, stop riding the bench. Always looking for mommy to daddy to save them in a situation. It does not allow for a healthy adulthood. If we're constantly bailing kids out and telling them that quitting is easy or quitting is an option, they'll become quitters in life as adults. So let's take a moment and really evaluate a situation where we talk to the coaches, we understand what their thought processes are, their coaching processes are. We make a proper evaluation before we quickly pull a kid from a team because he sat the bench for 2 innings. Maybe there's a reason, and that goes to the point I made about overvaluing the talent of your kid. Maybe your kid isn't that good yet. Maybe your kid doesn't deserve the playing time yet. So remove yourself from that. Have a conversation with the coach. Most coaches are open to talk to you about that. Most coaches invite that kind of conversation because we typically don't have an honest opinion about our children. We need honest opinions from other people to tell us what is actually going on. But a lot of times we don't want to hear it because it's our child and it hurts. It doesn't feel good to hear, well, he really needs to work on this. He or she really needs to work on these things. He or she's not ready. He or she just doesn't have the talent right now, but it doesn't feel good as parents to think that our kids aren't good enough or qualified enough. But that's most of the times the reality of the situation. So we need to remove ourselves from that because how we think of our children is typically not reality. You know, sports in general, it's a learning process. It's a very social aspect. kids from the ages of 9 to 18 in the youth and amateur levels. It's a very rough water to navigate sometimes. Being a good teammate can be hard, especially if you're not the superstar on the team. But what we need to teach in life for these kids is to actually enjoy the process. Being a good teammate doesn't mean you're the best player on the team. You can play a supportive role, but we need to teach this to our kids about how to be a proper teammate, how to be a good teammate when you're not the best one on the team. I tell my kids, my players, I go play a sport where you're not the best at it. If you're great at baseball, go play volleyball or go play basketball. There you'll learn how to be a good teammate. There you'll understand that practice is necessary, that work ethic is necessary. There you'll understand how to overcome failures when you're not good at something. And now apply that to the game you love. Now, as parents and children will understand that we need to work at our craft to make it to those next levels. And just like in life, those social constructs of team sports, it's a very valuable lesson for corporate environments, for teamwork environments, for business. There's a lot of parallels between team athletics and being successful later in life. But getting back to the point is, if we allow our children to quit, if we allow them, or if we make them not enjoy the process, we make them not understand the bigger picture of what we're trying to do, if we keep constantly putting negative pressure on them, we're doing them a disservice. We're not allowing them to grow. We're not allowing them to be their own person. So what I want you to all understand about this is we all want the best for our children. We all want them to succeed. But by giving them everything, by putting undue pressure on them, by allowing them to quit, by doing that as parents, we're failing. We really need to understand how to remove ourselves emotionally from what they're doing, provide positive support, loving support, and let them navigate their own waters, chart their own path, be an individual, feel good about themselves. Look in their eyes, ask them, what is it that you want to do? What is it you like to do? And whatever that is, whether it's sports, whether it's arts and music, whether it's coding, whether it's anything in life, what is it? And let's support that. And let's remove ourselves from telling them and dictating what it is that they're going to be good at, and you're going to do it my way. We can give them the discipline and the structure to do everything, give them support that they need. It just doesn't need to be done in a negative way. And especially in sports these days, and I see it in baseball, the negative atmosphere from the parents is killing the game, it's killing the player, and it's creating an environment where kids are they're not happy. They're walking off the field without a smile. And that's why one rule about playing sports is, at the end of the day, can you walk off that field knowing you gave it all and have a smile on your face? So parents, for what it's worth, take my 2 cents. I've experienced a lot with it. I was lucky to have parents that provided me with a ton of support, a ton of love, and gave me every opportunity to succeed because they identified my passion. They identified my love, and that was baseball. Identify that in your child. Grow that, support that, but don't put undue pressure on them for failing, because we all fail. Everyone fails. Help them over those hurdles of failure. Be the support that they need. Encouragement. That's how you grow a kid with character, a player with discipline, a player with hustle, and a player of passion for what they're doing. Well, that's all I got today. Kind of had to get that off my chest a little bit. Felt good, actually. Felt real good. Anyway, take that for what it's worth. Like I said, that's my 2 cents. That's how I feel. But I think drawing from my own experiences, I think it's the right way. I want to thank you for joining me today on The Motive. I'm Colin Young. And as we always say, what's your motive?